folks, I'm Craig Shelton. This is The Cut right here on UTN 43.8. First of all, I want to say it's good to be back, man. We've been away for a little bit. Had a little bout with some laryngitis and a really bad run with some strep throat. I was dialed out, brother. But hey, everything's good. The whole crew is back in effect. Again, I say I am Craig Shelton. This man is Richard Walker from HMW. We are the HMW Creeps. That's HoustonMediaWatch.com. You can go there and check us out on the website. And a lot of good content. Talk a lot about the local sports scene, the local sports hosts. We are Houston's media watchdogs. This is the TV version of what we like to do around town. And when I say around town, Richard, I mean in literal terms.
Around town,
folks around town. We spend a lot of time working with different people and getting out, mixing it up. Got a lot of good things going on around Houston in regard to the sports scene. Houston sports scene is going underground, no doubt about that. And we got a couple of guys. My man Manny Fresh on Twitter. That's Manny Fresh 25. Dale V1. We hung out with those guys. We're gonna bring you some of that stuff. You'll be seeing that. We got out in the community, hung out at the barbershops. Got some great stuff for you guys over there. We'll be bringing to you a little bit later in the show. And I think you're going to really appreciate some of that. We intend to do that throughout the football season. Because when we first launched the show, we did a lot of time in studio, and that was cool. But now that we out moving around, it just kind of feels good to get out and mix it up with folks. Right now, we're right off of Westheimer at Nick's Place. Great sports bar. I know you can see all of the TVs in the background.
Taco, sure.
The fish tacos are off the hook. We just got them throwing down on some of those. So just hang in there. We're going to be bringing you some good stuff. Like I say, let you see what we've been doing out in the streets and we've been taking with other folks. But what I want to do right now, Richard, when we first launched this show, it was several weeks into the show, the Manti Te'o situation came up. We talked a whole lot about that on this show. And we talked a lot about from the point of view of dealing with gay athletes. Now, you and I had a completely different view of that situation. And it would be easy for me to show up today and say, wow, Richard, Brittany Griner came out, and apparently folks knew Brittany Griner was gay when she was at Baylor, and that locker room seemed to mesh pretty well together. And it would be easy for me to say, Jason Collins played a long NBA career that may not even be over, but I doubt seriously that no one in the locker room
they didn't.
You don't think they knew? You don't think no one ever? I think someone knew. It wasn't a well broadcasted fact. But it never imploded.
Right.
Okay. So it's easy for me to say those things. But then you can easily comment when I bring up the fact, and I need to look this up. But there's a soccer player, former U.S. national team winger, Robbie Rogers, who has come out. He signed with the LA Galaxy, making him the first active openly gay male athlete
who's actually playing,
who's still playing.
Right.
Okay. So you can easily comment and say we don't know yet, because Robbie is the guy that's going to really tell us whether or not it works, because he's a guy that's I think whether it's fair or not is different with the male athletes as opposed to female athletes. I don't think Brittany Griner even needed to come out. Who was surprised by that?
Not in the WNBA, because
it's assumed.
It's assumed. In fact, straight females are probably the minority in the WNBA.
So we get that. But with the male athletes, it's a total different playing field.
Absolutely.
You know it and I know it.
Yep.
So we have this platform now where we actually are going to be able to have at least 3 examples to where we can kind of add some actual data, I'll use that term, to our analysis and our just general opinions about it. Well, let me start here.
Okay.
For me, I think the idea of quote-unquote coming out is not necessary. I don't think folks need to come out. There's no need to come out. I don't need to walk in here at Nick's Place and declare myself a straight African American man. I think if you want equality, you want it to be treated like everyone else, then you act like everyone else. You know what I mean? You reach that common ground, and there's no need to come out. That's my first view on it. I'll let you come in on that angle.
Well, I think I agree to 100% because the players don't care, regardless of what sport it is. They may have their opinions of your personal life, and they're gonna throw jokes at you, talk stuff behind your back, whatever. But when it all comes down to the field of play, whatever sport it is, they don't give a damn as long as you can help the team win. None of that stuff matters on the field of play. And so I don't see why it's relevant for that to be broadcast, or you have to have some type of stage where you announce to the world that you're openly gay. I mean, if that's your decision, I think most people now, but some won't respect it, but most people will, and you just move on.
Now here's where the circumstance gets convoluted, because I remember back when we talked about the Manti Te'o situation, my take on it was the NFL. Well, I guess I should talk about your take first. You thought that it would not work in the NFL locker room, but you just said right here on the Cutt on UTN 43.8, Richard Walker at HMW Walker on Twitter. You just said the players don't care.
They don't.
So what you're saying is
they don't want to hear about it.
But that's different than not caring.
Well,
not wanting to hear is different than not caring.
Perhaps I need to clarify myself. When it all comes down to it, when I say that they don't give a damn, that means they don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear my starting quarterback or my starting left tackle or my starting power forward or the right fielder announce that he's gay. I don't care. I don't even care. I don't want to hear it. How are you going to help us win a championship? Announce that. Because the rest of the stuff we don't give a damn about.
Okay, so you're an NFL player. Let's say you're an NFL player and you've been playing with a guy for 2 years. He's a good player. You get along with him well. Okay. You had no idea he's gay. All of a sudden he announces he's gay in a public platform. Let's say it doesn't become a media circus. How does that change you and the other guy's perspective because he came out? Or maybe I should ask the question in this manner. Suppose you guys knew in the locker room, not necessarily because he announced it, but some kind of way you found out you knew about it, or you suspected it to the level you were comfortable saying, I'm sure he is. What's the difference, in your opinion, of that teammate, or does that opinion change just because he comes out? Is coming out going to be the new sin? You know, in some folks' eyes, the sinful thing is that, my God, that guy or that girl is gay. But now is it the fact that you're going public with it and making it a circus and making it an issue for your teammates who now walk out of the shower after that 15-minute cool-off period, and they're not asked about how much they've improved in press coverages or in run blocking or in passing efficiency. They're now asked questions about things that have nothing to do with the game, your gay teammate.
Yeah, I think that's it exactly, and I think that is going to be the new sin because, like I said, going back to the players' mentality, especially NFL, you got to remember there's a bunch of egotistical, testosterone-fueled.
Say it, Richard, say it.
Well, I'm sure it's probably going to get edited anyway, so I won't say it, but you folks at home can probably read my mind. But the players have this union that this kind of a brotherhood. And one of the things that goes on is the chatter in the locker room. You know, you kind of talk about, what happens, at the club, and, you pick up women and this, and that. That's part of life of being a player. These guys aren't going to be a part of the conversation because they obviously don't want to know what this guy's doing, his personal life. So you lose that sense of, hey, we got something in common. We all go chase girls together, or we all party the same way. So you start. It's one of those building blocks that you lose. You lose that camaraderie that they build, and then that will translate at some point to the field because you're out there in practice. The best way to learn the game is through other players. You make mistakes, you miss a read, you miss a block, you drop a pass, whatever, you usually learn more from the other players or from game film as well, or from the sidelines. Some of the other players will tell you what they're seeing out there, but if you don't have that type of bond, that type of relationship with the other players, you're not going to get that level of feedback. That's just the way it is.
I'm sure this is something that we'll be readdressing. I don't think this storyline discussion will die away anytime soon as far as relevance with sports. But anyway, folks, glad to be back. First segment in the books. What we're going to do now is we're going to run to a break, pay a couple of bills, as they say. And when we get back, we're going to get you folks into some of that stuff that we promised you earlier with us out and about in one of the local barbershops, talking to little Texans and debating a little Cowboys. Hey, it's the Cut. Hey, welcome back, folks. We still live over at Shaw's Cutting Shop. Well, that's actually a cut above at 9243 South Main, right at the corner of South Main and Merward, right next to old Maxwell's, man, which is now going to be, I believe, what, Maxwell's City. Maxwell City, coming soon to you folks. All right, this is what we got. We got a Titan fan. I'm sorry, we got a Texan fan in the chair. We got a Texan fan to my right, and we got my man Richard Walker from HMW, the Cowboy fan. He's made it clear that it probably will take 2 Texan fans to handle him in the first place. I'll go ahead and let Richard have the first word, since he's being double teamed by 2 Texan fans, and explain to me why the Dallas Cowboys, affectionately known by my man Larry Stafford as them Cowgirls, why they will have any opportunity in a make-believe world where the Texans and Cowboys were matched up this year with the rosters they have going into a playoff matchup. It would have to be the Super Bowl, actually, if it was post-playoffs. Why would the Cowboys or why would the Texans come out on top? All right, Richard Walker.
All right, well, first of all, we're going to go wire to wire. We're going to start at the quarterback position because this is the easiest one. Even though, yes, Tony Romo probably threw an interception while I made this comment, I have no problem with banging on Tony Romo. Anyone who lives inside the Houston area with an IQ over the number 3 will know that Tony Romo is a better quarterback than Matt Shelton. I don't think I need to elaborate on why.
Agreed.
Yeah. So Shaw probably couldn't throw a football from here to this camera with that $5 home. So we'll start there. Running back position, I think it's a little bit closer than you guys want to give credit to. Now, one of the X factors for the Dallas Cowboys this year is going to be DeMarco Murray. Because one of the reasons why the Cowboys struggled is because they were not able to move the chains, i.e. they were not able to run the ball effectively, manage the time of possession game, mainly because the injury that happened to DeMarco Murray. They're a completely different team when DeMarco Murray's not back there. For all us Cowboys fans, thank goodness that Felix Jones, as I call him, Shelix Jones, is no longer there. So I think that we'll start to see improvement in the run game. They did draft Frederick, who I think will have some help. I was hoping that we would address the tackle position, which I think was their weakest area of opportunity on the line, specifically on the right side. I think Tyron Smith's going to be just fine. He's going to be a Pro Bowl tackle in a year or so. But when we're able to address the right side of the line, I think the running game is going to be just fine. Wide receiver, again, we got one of the most talented wide receivers, and I expect for him to have a absolute bananas type season next year in Dez Bryant. I think he's got his mental game correct in terms of things that's going on in his personal life. He seems to be more focused, avoid the injuries, and again, you saw the type of explosiveness that he brought to the table last year. I'm going to say this, at this point, right now, we're not talking about careers, we're talking about right now, player to player, I will put him right next to Andre Johnson in terms of his ability to make plays, his ability to...
Absolutely not.
Well,
wow. All right. So that's the offensive side of the football. So I'll let you rebut that. Texan fan has his rebuttal to Richard Walker's Cowboy argument.
I'm going to start by saying, first of all, this Andre Johnson comparison to Dez Bryant is an absolute joke, but further, shows the ignorance of Cowboys and the type of fans that they bring to the table. Now, Andre Johnson, career body of work, absolute Hall of Famer, no doubt. Dez Bryant, complete mental case. No respect for a guy that slaps his mother with a fitted cap. as far as his breakout season, in order for a wide receiver to have a breakout season, you have to have a decent quarterback, which Tony Romo is not. If you base throwing the football to the other team's defenders, then yeah, Tony Romo is the best we have to offer in the National Football League. Now, if you're talking about throwing for touchdowns in critical games, in games that will possibly send you into the playoffs, but Tony Romo is not that guy. He's not going to be the guy to get that done. Now, Matt Schaub, I'm a little skeptical about my quarterback as well, but at this point in his career, no comparison whatsoever. Two years in a row, with or without Matt Schaub, the Texans have been to the playoffs. With a healthy Tony Romo, the Dallas Cowboys have been unable to make it 2 years in a row. I remind folks that one of those years the Cowboys had 13 Pro Bowlers. So if you want to sit here and talk about the past of Texas football, you talk to my man here about the Dallas Cowboys. You want to talk about the future of Texas football, you come right over here to Reliance Stadium.
Okay, so we're going to move to the defensive side of the football, and I guess I'll be the guy that kind of mediates. Here's what I'll say. I think starting with Rich's comment in regard to the Cowboys' running game, maybe being a little bit closer to the efficiency or effectiveness of the Texas run game, I think that's probably a little bit over the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think that matches up. I do like Rich's argument that Dez Bryant is comparable to Andre Johnson, which goes against your point, but Dez Bryant is a elite, freakishly gifted, talented athlete, and I have an advantage of knowing a little bit more about that situation that went on with his mother because of my relationship with folks close to him up in East Texas. And without getting too detailed and putting his personal business out, I would just say I would take another look at what happened with that situation with Dez and his mom and that entire ridiculous circumstance. Dez has cleaned up the people around him and basically sent some folks home and trimmed down that posse. I'll use the term posse. But I think both of y'all made good points. Nothing really stand out that was egregiously ridiculous in either case. But I do believe Dez Bryant is closer to Andre Johnson than one might imagine. And I'll put it this way. If you had to ask yourself right now for the next 3 to 5 years, would you take Dez Bryant on your team or Andre Johnson, you would have to at minimum consider taking Dez Bryant. And I don't think the Cowboys have anything comparable to the Texans run game. The Texas run game is not just about Arian Foster, it's about the continuity of the system. And I think Dallas, though they've addressed needs, we have to see if they're going to work. And so I call that one even. All right, I'll go back now. We got another Texas fan here to the left that's in the chair. So we're going to give Richard another shot on the defensive side of the football to make an argument for the Dallas Cowboys over the Texans, and then we'll get my man here in the chair to rebut that. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay. And before I say this, let me just say a foreword. I'm sliding a little my man Sean here an extra, a few bucks on the side. So should he have to say something out of line, his age up might reflect that. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But on the defensive side of the football, I think this is where you're gonna see the greatest room of improvement. Let's not remember, this was not a bad Cowboys defense. Statistically speaking, the numbers may not speak to that, but halfway through the season, the Dallas Cowboys was the #1 defense in the league. If you guys recall that. Before the injuries that happened to the linebacking core, you had a significant amount of time where DeMarcus Ware was playing, injured or at half speed. We had injuries in the secondary. I think that had a significant toll on it. And then the fact that we couldn't run the ball, so the defense was out there and they, were worn out and tired. They gave up a lot of big plays. So I think the fact that the running game was addressed is going to help the defensive side of the ball. Going to a 4-3 defense instead of a 3-4 is going to help because you're not relying so much on that front line, which is it's a weakness for us. I'm not going to candy coat it. On the line, we just don't have those type of guys that can create the pressure that's going to help the secondary out. And that's why I think a lot of times you're going to see big plays given up because you got a pocket where the quarterback can just sit there and pick the defense apart. So being able to go to a 4-3 defense, I expect for them to get more pressure on the quarterback. I expect to see more big plays in the secondary. I think we got two good corners. One of them I think is actually better than he gets credit for, Brandon Carr. I expect for him to have a great, if not Pro Bowl season. So defensively speaking, I expect to see much improvement. I think this unit's gonna be quite a surprise this year.
All right, so Richard Walker makes his argument for the Dallas Cowboys defense that he thinks will be improved. Before we move on and get the Texans coming from my man here that's in the chair, I want to address a couple of things with the Cowboys going to that 4-3, as you said. I don't know that that's going to necessarily generate more pressure. I think defensive coordinators are able to be more creative when they have a 3-4 set. Just so much more you can do in regard to designing exotic blitz packages out of that 3-4 scheme as opposed to a 4-3 scheme. And now if you're not able to get to the quarterback last year playing in a 3-4, and you're going to make that switch from one year to the next and expect it to be an exponential difference, I can't argue against it because we saw it with the Texans when they switched over in the first year and had great success in that regard. But in regard to your statement overall, I guess I'll take a wait and see approach.
One of the things you have to think about though is that they're going to be facing two teams that run a pistol formation in their division. So that's something that you have to account for. They were stymied by the fact that you don't know if you can send your blitzer off the edge, or you don't know if you need to send pressure up the middle, because you don't know what the quarterback's going to do, because he has that read option capability.
Yeah, but one of those pistol schemes is going to be a little bit more conservative, because I don't think the Redskins are going to run as
yeah, but with RG3 is always a threat though. Always a threat.
Always a threat. Always but I think it'll be pulled back somewhat, than what it was. So all right. So that's Richard Walker. That's his argument for the Cowboys defense. My man, I know you heard that. You're a Texan fan. Let's get your rebuttal in regard to what you think the Texans defense, how it would be successful as opposed to the Cowboys.
First of all, we talk about expectations. When you mention expectations, we're talking about proven defense versus expectations. The Texans, first of all, did things they had to do in the offseason to address leadership in the secondary by picking up Ed Reed. Not saying where he is in his career as far as later in his career. There's some intangibles about Ed Reed that our secondary needs in leadership, which was, I would say, our only weakness in our defense. You compare DeMarcus Ware, we have J.J. Watt. If you go back to the conversation with the offense, to aging Andre Johnson versus Dez Bryant, I would say on defense that we're in that position with J.J. Watt versus aging Marcus Ware. So defensively, our defense is actually emerging. We're addressing it.
Folks, welcome back. I really hope that you all enjoyed from the nosebleed. As I told you, those guys do a real good job. Some pretty good Texans talk up in there. Matt Sharp taking it on the chin a little bit, but he ought to be used to taking it on the chin at this point. Richard, as usual, a lot of work for you this week with all the tape and everything. We appreciate your efforts and everything that you did to make things pop off this week. And hey, folks, we're glad to be back. As we say, we apologize for the little break in production, but definitely we're here to stay. This is UTN 43.8. We love you, folks. Appreciate your supporting the show, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Thank you.